Why used EV prices collapsed and why hybrids are skyrocketing comes down to one brutal market reality. Buyers hate uncertainty, and right now, EVs are priced like uncertainty, while hybrids are priced like safety. Let's break this down. If you want to understand cars before you buy them, you're in the right place. Subscribe, because every car has a story, and we're here to decode it so you don't waste money. Now, two quick facts most people miss. Fact number one. Used EV prices don't set themselves. They get dragged around by whatever the new EV market does. Price cuts, incentives, and lease deals. When new EV pricing moves fast, used EV pricing has to follow. Fact number two. Hybrids aren't skyrocketing because they suddenly became new technology. They're skyrocketing because they deliver what the average buyer wants right now: lower fuel cost with zero lifestyle change. And here's your reason to share this video with a friend. If someone you know is shopping a used EV because it looks cheap, or they're about to overpay for a hybrid because it feels safe, this breakdown helps them buy the right thing for their life without getting emotionally dragged by headlines. That can literally be the difference between getting a great deal and becoming the deal. All right, why did used EV prices collapse? The first reason is the one people dance around. New EV price cuts nuked the floor under used values. Used car prices are anchored to new car prices. That's always been true, but EVs are extra sensitive because EV shoppers cross-shop by payment and specs more than brand loyalty. So when new EV manufacturers start cutting new EV prices, sometimes by thousands, your used EV doesn't get to keep its old value. Let's make it simple. If a new EV was 45 grand and a used one was 38, that used one looks reasonable. But if the manufacturer cuts the new one to 39, or the dealership is effectively selling it for 39 with incentives, then your $38,000 used EV instantly looks overpriced. Question: would you buy the used one to save 1 grand, or would you buy the new one with full warranty and newer hardware? Exactly. This is why EV depreciation can look like a cliff. It's not always the used car getting worse, it's the new car getting cheaper. Second reason, incentives and lease deals make the used EV market feel fake. This is where it gets interesting because EV pricing is two different worlds. World 1 is the sticker price you see online. World 2 is the effective price after tax credits, state rebates, utility rebates, manufacturer incentives, and lease specials that quietly bake in those credits. So a buyer might look at a used EV listed for $28,000 and think, wow, what a steal. Then they realize a new one effectively costs $30,000, sometimes even less on a lease, and now the used price has to drop to compete with an artificially discounted new price. That makes used EV values feel unstable, because they are. They're not just competing with new, they're competing with new minus a stack of incentives. Third reason, off-lease EV waves hit the market like a supply tsunami. A lot of EVs released, and when leases end, those cars don't trickle into the used market evenly. They show up in batches. You get thousands of similar cars landing at auctions and dealer lots around the same time. More supply, same demand, price drops. And because many EVs were sold in concentrated time periods, big adoption pushes, you get concentrated lease endings too. So if you're wondering why prices dropped suddenly, sometimes it's literally because a wave of inventory arrived and the market had to digest it. Fourth reason, interest rates punished expensive monthly payments. Most people don't buy cars, they buy payments. When interest rates rise, the market doesn't just cool off, it changes personality. Buyers become cautious, they become picky, they stop paying extra for experiments. And EVs, fair or not, are still considered an experiment by a lot of mainstream buyers. So higher rates did two things at once. They made new EV payments less attractive, and they reduced the pool of used EV buyers who were willing to finance. Less demand equals lower used prices. Fifth reason, the market started pricing in the fear of out-of-warranty EV repairs. I used to work on cars, and I'll tell you something that sounds backward. EVs are mechanically simpler, but they can feel scarier to buy used. With a gas car, people feel like they understand the risk. They've heard of engines and transmissions their whole life. With a used EV, the average buyer thinks, what if the battery is worn? What if it needs a new battery and it costs more than the car? What if something electronic fails and nobody can fix it quickly? Even if those fears are exaggerated, fear affects demand, and demand sets price. Here's a quick test. If you put a used gas car and a used EV next to each other, same price, same mileage, and the buyer doesn't have home charging, what do they choose? Most people choose what feels familiar. That's not engineering, that's psychology. Sixth reason, charging reality collided with mainstream life. Early adopters are flexible. They'll plan around charging, install home chargers, and tolerate a learning curve. Mainstream buyers want easy, and a lot of people realized too late that EV ownership changes your routine unless you have reliable home charging. If you live in an apartment or you street park or your work charging is unpredictable, then charging becomes a constant background task. So demand for used EVs is split into two groups: people who can charge at home, who often love used EVs, and people who can't, who avoid them completely. That reduces the buyer pool, and a smaller buyer pool means lower prices. Seventh reason, EV tech ages faster in the buyer's mind. A 5-year-old gas car is still basically a gas car. Fill it up, drive, repeat. A 5-year-old EV can feel like old tech. Less range than the new ones, slower fast charging, older driver assist, older infotainment, different charging standards depending on brand and year, and sometimes fewer software features. So buyers treat older EVs a little like older phones. Still useful, but not worth close to new money. Is that perfectly fair? Not always, but markets don't price fairness. Markets price what people believe. Eighth reason, insurance and repair logistics quietly changed the math. This one doesn't get enough attention. Some EVs have higher insurance costs because repair costs are higher, parts availability can be limited, and minor damage can turn into expensive work because of sensors, aluminum structures, or battery safety procedures. So a buyer sees a cheap used EV, gets the insurance quote, and suddenly the deal doesn't feel like a deal. And when enough buyers have that experience, demand softens and prices fall. So that's the collapse side. Now let's flip it. Why are hybrids skyrocketing? First reason, hybrids are the no lifestyle change efficiency upgrade. This is the hybrid superpower. A hybrid is basically the easiest yes in the car world right now. Better fuel economy, less pain at the pump, no hunting for chargers, no learning curve, no range anxiety, and you can still road trip exactly like you always have. For a mainstream buyer, that's perfect.
So while EV demand depends heavily on charging, situation, and incentives, hybrid demand is broad and simple. Almost anyone can benefit. Second reason, hybrid supply has been tight at the exact wrong time. For years, a lot of automakers chased full EV headlines while keeping hybrid production limited. Then the market shifted. Buyers said, actually, I want electrification, but I want it easy. And suddenly, everyone wanted hybrids at the same time. But factories can't instantly double hybrid output. Supply lags, demand spikes, prices rise. That's why you see hybrids holding value like crazy, especially brands with strong hybrid reputations. Third reason, fuel price anxiety makes hybrids feel like financial self-defense. Even if gas isn't currently at its worst, people remember volatility. Hybrids are like a built-in hedge. Whatever gas does, I'll be less affected. That feeling is powerful, and buyers will pay a premium for peace of mind, especially when the rest of the economy feels uncertain. Fourth reason, hybrids have a proven story and predictable ownership. From a mechanic perspective, this is huge. Toyota hybrids, for example, have a long track record. Independent shops understand them. Parts exist. Failure patterns are known. Battery replacement options exist. Buyers feel like they can predict ownership, and predictability holds value. Meanwhile, the EV world is still sorting out long-term depreciation patterns, long-term battery health data across models, and long-term repair ecosystems outside dealerships. Again, this isn't about which is better, it's about what feels certain. Fifth reason, hybrid buyers are everyone. Think about who buys hybrids: commuters, families, rideshare drivers, people who keep cars a long time, people who don't want to mess with charging, people who live in cold climates, people who road trip, people who just want one car that does everything. That's a huge market. EV buyers can be a huge market too, but only if charging fits. Hybrids don't have that barrier, so their demand stays wide. Now let's do the myth-busting section, because this is where the internet gets loud and wrong. Myth number 1. Used EVs are cheap because the batteries are all failing. Generally speaking, no. Battery degradation is real, but it's usually gradual, and many EVs hold up well over time, especially with good thermal management. The bigger issue is that buyers don't know how to judge battery health confidently, so they assume worst-case scenarios, and the market prices that fear. So a used EV can be an amazing buy if you can charge at home, the range still fits your commute, and you understand the warranty situation. Myth number 2. Used EVs are always the smarter choice. Not always. If you drive a lot of miles, have cheap electricity, and you can charge at home, an EV can be cheaper to operate day-to-day and can require less routine maintenance. But the key word is if. If charging doesn't fit your life, the EV turns into friction. Myth number 3. EV depreciation means EVs are failing as a technology. No. Depreciation is a pricing story, not a reliability verdict. EVs are in a phase where new pricing is moving quickly, incentives distort the market, and tech improvements arrive faster than gas cars. That combination creates volatile used values. Now, real-world application. What should you do as a buyer right now? If you're considering a used EV, here's the smart checklist. 1. Be honest about charging before you even shop. If you can't reliably charge at home or work, you're signing up for public charging. Some people are fine with it. Many people aren't. Know yourself. 2. Compare the used price to the effective new price. Don't compare to MSRP. Compare to what people actually pay after incentives and current deals. Otherwise, you'll overpay for used. 3. Check warranty coverage, especially the battery warranty. Look at what's left and what it covers. This reduces uncertainty, and uncertainty is what kills EV resale. 4. Evaluate range like a realist, not like a brochure. Consider winter range, highway range, and your actual daily miles. If you need 200 miles daily, don't buy a 200-mile EV and hope for perfect conditions. 5. Get an insurance quote before you commit. Some EVs surprise people. It can change the deal instantly. 6. Pick used EVs that match your life, not your ego. If you're buying an EV to save money, the best EV is often the boring one that fits your commute perfectly, not the fastest one. Now, if you're considering a hybrid, here's the smart way to avoid getting ripped. 1. Don't overpay so much that you erase the fuel savings. If the hybrid premium is huge, do the math. Sometimes a slightly less efficient gas car makes more sense financially. 2. Broaden your search beyond the obvious kings. Yes, Toyota hybrids are excellent, but sometimes the Toyota tax is so high that a less hyped hybrid can be a better value. 3. Buy maintenance history, not reputation. Hybrids are reliable, but they're still cars. Coolant, brakes, tires, suspension, those still matter. A neglected hybrid can be expensive. 4. Understand that hybrid batteries are a wear item too. They don't usually fail suddenly, and replacement isn't always catastrophic, but pretending it's impossible is how people get surprised. Now let's zoom out, because this is the real takeaway. Used EV prices collapsed because the EV market is moving fast. New car price cuts, incentives, lease waves, higher interest rates, and buyer uncertainty all pushed used values down at the same time. Hybrids are skyrocketing because they are the easiest form of electrification for the average person, efficiency without changing your routine, and demand is bigger than supply. So the market isn't crazy, it's human. And the opportunity, if you're paying attention, is that both sides can be good deals for different people. A used EV can be the best value on the road if you can charge at home and you buy smart. A hybrid can be the best one-car solution if you want fuel savings without changing your life. Just don't pay so much that you defeat the point. If you learned something here, subscribe. Next, I'll break down which used EVs are actually the safest buys right now, and which ones look cheap but can get expensive fast. And again, share this video with a friend who's shopping a car right now, because understanding why prices moved is how you stop reacting to the market and start using it.